coming up. Immediately after Hurricane Michael tore into the Florida Panhandle, two valiant volunteers bring some much-needed disaster relief.
They were amazing. They were absolutely amazing.
Hello? Is there anyone here? Do you need help?
And later, floodwaters from a Florida hurricane caused many to have to flee and leave everything behind.
It's moments like this that make it all worthwhile.
Welcome to Hearts of Heroes. This is a show where you're going to see the most beautiful places on the planet, but they also sometimes play host to the most dangerous events.
The Gulf of Mexico is famous for its warm ocean currents, white sand beaches, and gorgeous seaside communities. But it's also known for something more treacherous: hurricanes.
So true. When Hurricane Michael hit the Gulf Coast, it was the first Cat 5 to hit the U.S. mainland in 25 years. I was right there in that eye wall for almost an hour, 150-mile-per-hour winds. You had the storm surge climbing above 12 feet. It really became a storm for the record books.
The Panhandle of northern Florida is well known for its beautiful shoreline, and Carolyn Metcalf has loved living in Mexico Beach for more than 3 decades.
A nice little American safe community. Nobody ever bothered anybody. It was a great place to be.
But that prime location right on the water also gives Mexico Beach a front row seat to some pretty intense weather. Consequently, longtime locals like Carolyn and her son, Scott Cothran, sometimes make the mistake of a lifetime, thinking that they can ignore a hurricane warning.
Mexico Beach police officer came by about 6 or 6:15 at night to let us know that they were evacuating, and it was a mandatory evacuation. But they weren't going to drag us out by handcuffs if we didn't leave.
Hurricane Michael became the first Cat 5 storm to make landfall in October in the last 64 years, ultimately claiming 36 lives and causing $15 billion in damage. It was the worst wake-up call that Scott and Carolyn could have imagined.
The hurricanes that we have stayed through, it was just wind and rain, and then it was gone. And I thought that this one was going to be that way too.
I knew in 2 hours we weren't going to be able to get far enough away. So we just decided to stay and hope for the best. The winds really got really hard. We had a privacy fence in the backs, and they were folding over and over. And it was concrete in the ground with wood posts and everything. When the walls started shaking, she was like, oh my word. I noticed that the waters were already up and the cars were not parked there anymore.
Unfortunately, what we see in areas where people get a lot of extreme weather events is that they sometimes think they can tell when it's going to be safe to stay and when it's not.
I could describe it as would be a nuclear bomb went off offshore.
For Carolyn and Scott, the harsh reality of the situation was now about to hit home, literally.
When I saw water coming in the front door, which is on the opposite side of where the water's supposed to be coming from, I knew we had to go upstairs because it was going to be flooded within minutes.
It's water where there's never been water before, and it's coming in like if you're standing at the edge of the Gulf and it's a stormy day. It absolutely chased us up the stairs.
Scott determined that his bedroom closet would be their best bet for shelter.
The closet was the only recourse, and the closet we ended up was the only reason that we still have our heads attached to our bodies, in my opinion.
As the epic hurricane decimated Mexico Beach, Carolyn's home of over 25 years was torn apart around mother and son.
We heard a crash, and I tried to open the door, and I could only open about this much. I watched the entire roof peel away from us at the angle to where it wasn't going to fall on our head. And the wall leaned a little bit because just about that time, the floor started to sink from the bottom plate of the walls. We ended up on our closet door with walls falling down around us.
With winds lashing and water churning around them, Scott turned the closet door into a kind of life raft, wrapping himself around his mother to protect her from debris and the elements.
We just kept trying to find somewhere to be. God's grace, that's where we chose to be, and found that closet door, and we stuck with it. It was like a surfboard, kind of.
Mother and son rode out the storm surge on that door, holding on for dear life, sustaining cuts and bruises from the wreckage swirling around them.
I had to stay on that because at least halfway through the riding of the debris, her arms had no strength left.
After washing inland a good 100 yards, Scott and his mother made it to land. Still in shock, they were found by a storm-chasing cameraman.
What's your name?
Scott Crossman, it's my mother, Carolyn Metcalf. Mexico Beach, I don't know. All I know is right here past the bridge. 42nd Street, there's one house that's all, used to be on stilts. There's no stilts there, everything else is gone. It's just the entire Highway 98. I can't even see it all the way down past Parker. It's just debris all on the street.
Coming up, the storm may be over, but the survivors aren't out of harm's way yet.
As far as the amount of devastation, I had never seen anything like that.
But first, here are some safety tips that might just help you and your family.
These days, thanks to science, severe weather can be predicted and many catastrophes forewarned.
Whether it's storm sirens or a call to evacuate, if you're being warned about something bad approaching you, follow the evacuation orders or take cover.
It's better to be safe and heed those warnings than to later wish you had. You and your family's safety is of utmost importance.
In October 2018, Hurricane Michael hit land, laying waste to the Florida Panhandle and the tiny town of Mexico Beach. Carolyn Metcalf's home for more than 20 years was smashed to bits around her and her son Scott.
All of it's gone. Everything's gone, even cars.
They miraculously survived the storm, but were stranded and in need of medical attention.
There was nobody here. No one was here.
While thousands were still fleeing this lethal hurricane, Jason, Maddie, and Christian Oakes, part of a disaster task force, were actually driving into the eye wall of this storm, risking their lives to save others.
So as we came over the bridge into Mexico Beach, there was no comms. We could only drive our vehicles maybe 30 yards or so over the bridge because of the piles of debris that were originally houses were now covering the streets.
As far as the amount of devastation, I had never seen anything like that. It was just utter destruction. Complete blocks wiped away.
The two friends had met and bonded over the course of previous rescue missions.
Hurricane Harvey actually came up in Texas. I saw just regular civilians, veterans, going out there with their own boats, rescuing people in Houston. I thought, well, I can do that. And it also brought in the camaraderie that I had in the military, and you felt like you had a bigger purpose.
Found out I'm pretty good at not only doing the survivor type stuff that's needed in this, but also the logistics, the supplies, making the connections, making the calls, just doing what it takes to get things done.
Disasters never clock out, and neither do first responders.
Rolling into Mexico Beach after dark, Jason and Christian were the only first responders in town. Their services were in desperate need, with Carolyn and Scott bleeding and in shock.
The storm chaser had pulled us over and asked if we were search and rescue, and we're like, yeah, what's going on? He goes, well, there's a male and a female in this house just over the bridge on the left that were in need of medical attention. So as Jason and I are heading to check on Scott and his mother, we are having to use flashlights because it's pitch black.
Hello? Is there anyone here? Do you need help? Are there any injuries? Hello? Search and rescue. Do you need help?
So I didn't see the lights when he got there, but I heard the voices. And she was like, go, 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 go see who that is.
They were first responders, and they were amazing. They were absolutely amazing.
We get in there, and Scott, he had a really bad gash on his finger. His mom had gotten a really bad gash on the right side of her head. We bandaged it up as best as we could. We cleaned it up to keep it from getting any infection.
I don't know what would have happened without them getting there, because the next people that came were the next day. I probably owe my life to both of them.
Carolyn and Scott have both been deeply affected by their life-threatening experience, and are profoundly grateful for these volunteer first responders who left their own families at home and put their lives on the line for them.
One of the miraculous things is that no more lives were lost. And a lot of that is due to people like Christian and Jason.
I don't consider ourselves heroes. I just think we're cut from a different cloth, and we're just there to help.
Christian and Jason, in my opinion, are true heroes because that's not their normal job. They're not firefighters. They're not police officers. They're not EMTs. A hero is not measured by what you do. It's measured by your heart. Are you putting others' needs ahead of your own?
We're, just two guys in this story, but there are thousands of others, civilians from all across the country that risk their lives. And all it takes is you just deciding, I'm not just gonna watch this on TV, I'm gonna go down there and help people because I can do that. I can give them a chance.
Coming up, after Hurricane Irma roars through central Florida, a creek rises and a senior living center is in danger.
When all this water started coming in, of course there was panic.
Hurricanes can be one of nature's most destructive forces, with high winds and heavy rain. Homes, buildings, and entire communities can be ripped to shreds.
And in Hurricane Irma, when it hit a small Florida city, it wasn't the winds so much as the flash flooding. That left so much damage in Irma's wake. Here's the good news, though. Irma had nothing on the first responders who jumped right into hero mode.
The central Florida town of Kissimmee not only has a romantic-sounding name, but it's also a great place to live. With warm weather year-round, it's a desirable spot for senior citizens. Nestled on scenic Shingle Creek is the sprawling 425-acre Good Samaritan Society, a peaceful retirement village.
The community and the camaraderie of the neighbors is just awesome. You can be as busy or as laid back as you choose. There's always somebody to talk to.
We checked out a couple of retirement communities and settled on Good Samaritan. We liked it because it was a big campus. It was also guarded. You feel safe here.
But that sense of safety can vanish in an instant when a natural disaster comes through. In September 2017, Hurricane Irma made landfall. This historic Category 5 storm wreaked havoc in 9 states, covering an area 650 miles wide. Good Samaritan was among the communities directly impacted, but believe it or not, things got more serious the day after Irma had passed through.
I believe that Monday night, going into Tuesday morning, here comes a flood. We got a call from emergency management that the Shingle Creek was going to start rising, and of course we prepared for the storm, but flood was something that caught us kind of off guard.
Hurricane Irma had passed, but it was still dumping record amounts of rain across the flat terrain of Florida. As that water accumulated and overflowed the creeks and rivers that should take it away, it had nowhere else to go other than everywhere.
Throughout the whole day, it just kept getting higher and higher and higher, which is what led to the mandatory evacuation.
When all this water started coming in, of course there was panic. We started going around, knocking on the residents' doors.
He told us the whole village was going to be evacuated. It's hard to comprehend those words.
When large-scale natural disasters strike, it's imperative for large institutions and facilities like Good Samaritan to coordinate all of their evacuation and rescue efforts with the local authorities.
Got the call from the battalion chief that we needed to report to Good Sam's to assist with evacuations.
In under 12 hours, as floodwaters steadily rose around them, all the endangered residents, many of them older and dealing with health issues, were needing to be evacuated from the home by first responders and dedicated Good Samaritan employees. Not an easy task, given the scope of the flooding. And the flood was still rising and causing epic amounts of property damage.
We kept watching or listening to the news reports on the radio, and they kept announcing the levels. You're scared.
Some places you would pull up and there were people physically outside waiting for you. Other places, people didn't want to leave.
You have 15 minutes to get out. 15 minutes. What do you do first?
Coming up, hundreds of homes were ruined by the flooding of Shingle Creek, but there was hope on the horizon. But first, a tip to make you safer in case of a disaster.
For many, in case of emergency, it's not as easy to evacuate as some may think.
If you fear you may be one of the many who don't have the ability to get out quick in the case of a natural disaster, then talk to someone in your community who does and formulate a plan with them to get you out.
We're all in this together, and if danger approaches, no one should be left behind.
In September 2017, Hurricane Irma ripped through the southeastern United States. Yet it was the aftermath of the storm that profoundly impacted people in the town of Kissimmee, Florida. Serious flooding from nearby Shingle Creek had rendered hundreds of homes in the Good Samaritan retirement village uninhabitable.
Your first thought is, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? Who's going to try and help you? And we were surprised that different agencies that would come and help us. They gave us food stamps. Good Samaritan gave us some money to get started to replace some of the things that we needed, essentials.
Natural disasters are the worst of times, but they truly do bring out the best in people. I know in this case, the Good Samaritan Society found lodging for all those residents who had been displaced by the horrific flood damage.
I couldn't be more proud of them. I know that there was no life loss at a place that housed close to 1,500 residents. That tells me that it was the staff that we currently have in place and the hand of God that was guiding us.
Happily, those heroic actions had prevented any injuries. All told, Hurricane Irma was the costliest storm in Florida history, wrecking an estimated $50 billion worth of property. The village itself suffered severe damage to the 300 units, both skips and Ellens among them, which had to be completely gutted and renovated.
From what I understand, had it just been rainwater, it wouldn't have been so bad.
The water obviously is flood water, which contains sewer water. It's not a good environment.
To handle the overwhelming job of disposal and restoration, Good Samaritan brought in our sponsor, Belfour, a property restoration specialist that's trained to handle difficult situations both environmentally and emotionally.
We had safety people here galore, watching every single day to ensure that the workers were doing the right things with the mask, with the gloves, because obviously everything was contaminated in the units. We did have to allow the tenants to come in and try to get their valuables out. Some of them just said, I don't want anything. That's a sad thing when you walk away from everything that belongs to you. It's very taxing on you emotionally when you have to throw away somebody's stuff that's all they've had all their life, and they're elderly.
All the displaced residents were housed in other locations for 8.5 months. And during the extremely trying times of rebuilding, this entire community really came together. Good Samaritan Management warmly welcomed the efforts of their new partners.
To make sure that our residents can come back to what they call home, and for them to be able to provide the work that they did and bringing that home back to life even better when before the hurricane, to me that means that they were also heroes.
It's about rebuilding this home, getting you back to where you were so that your life can carry on.
When the new furniture was delivered and the pictures were up on the wall, it was like those 8.5 months never happened.
Restoring property for us isn't just about architecture. It's about recapturing the feeling of home that people had.
And for Skip Reese, that long journey back from a ruined house to a perfectly restored one was something he will never forget.
Describe for me that day that you were handed your keys and you got to walk back into your home.
Well, I'll tell you, I wept like a baby. There's no words for it. Just every emotion you have comes over you.
After 30-some years of doing this, it's moments like this that make it all worthwhile. And just bless you guys and stay well and be well and continue to give to others.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is a storm that will forever teach me to be in awe of Mother Nature, the battering, the ravaging, often unforgiving force.
But we've also witnessed the bravery and incredible spirits of both the residents and rescue teams who rose up to face these catastrophes.
So thanks to them, and thank you for watching.
We'll see you next time on Hearts of Heroes.